Let's see. All right. Well, my name is Ben Muldrow. I am a partner with Arnett Muldrow and Associates, and I am joined today by two good friends of ours, Edward Francis, who is the chairman, CEO, and president of InBank, based in Denver, Colorado. And even though they are on two screens, they are sharing the same apartment. And his lovely wife, Stephanie Francis, owner of Southcoast Consulting, they were kind enough to go to two different rooms, so it looks like we've got a really big Zoom conference going here. So thank you both for joining me today. And I just wanted to, I know things are moving really, really quickly. One of the hot topics out there right now is the PPP, and we are recording this on midday on Friday. And today, I think, was the first day that institutions were kind of green lighted to accept applications, and we know still some are still kind of rolling in, but we also know that this seems to be a first come first serve program with a roughly $349 billion package. So we just wanted to get in with the folks that were seeing it on the ground and see if maybe we could get some conversations going. So Stephanie, Edward, thank you guys so much for taking the time today out of everybody's busy schedules to kind of talk a little bit about it. But can Edward, I'd love to hear a little bit about where you guys are as the president of a bank. You know, what are you seeing? And what do you know about the program that we kind of talked earlier today and kind of were joked a little over this idea of the final interim set of rules. It's literally like, you know, that's kind of how I name files, where it's like, this is the final and this is the final and this is really the final. So can you bring us up to speed with what you know from the financial side of things?
Sure, absolutely. First of all, I will tell you that SBA is moving with blazing speed compared to how they normally move. So my hats off to them and applaud them for taking action. Ironically, after Hurricane Katrina, I testified in the U.S. House in their Small Business Committee about this, about the fact that banks were really the way to get money out quicker than just the SBA disaster program. So as they say, be careful what you wish for. So I really am glad to see the SBA taking these actions, and I think it's exactly the right thing to do to help our small business customers. So we as a bank started meeting actually last Friday when word first started coming down about this program, and have been working around the clock since to develop processes to make sure we can understand how to process the loans. You know, when you do SBA lending, there's a lot of rules based, and I will tell you that the SBA took their rules on this program down to a very minimum, amount of rules, and so that's going to really streamline the process. So what we have done is really kind of created a process for our existing customers, a process for prospects who we know and have banked before, and then prospects for, new to bank prospects that are coming in, and trying to triage those so that we can handle those requests as soon as possible. And so we're seeing a lot of demand. As the rules were released this morning, we basically are able to lend money today, as long as the SBA system is up and functioning, E-Tran, which we're having a little bit of difficulty at this point in time to get things in, but I suspect that will work out. But we're open for business today. We've been working on applications as we speak, and really trying to get the money in the hands of the clients that need it to make payroll and do things that they need to do. So that's where we are at this point. Ben, sorry.
I get that all the time, don't you?
All the time, yeah. So anyway, I'm sure there's lots of questions around that, but that's where we are at this point in time.
Well, fantastic. And I think one of the big things that, and obviously Stephanie and I first worked together doing recovery work on the Mississippi Gulf Coast after both Hurricane Katrina, and then moving into the BP oil spill. And since then, we've worked on numerous projects that involve kind of disaster recovery. I think one of the interesting things about this dynamic is it's the first time we've ever seen a disaster that's truly impacting all. It's not a single geography. It's not a particular finite time period of a storm that started and ended. It's literally still going on. We're still in the middle. And I love this inclusion of really figuring out the way to use those financial institutions to pass the funding through. Stephanie, in your experience, like, what are you seeing in terms of this different approach that you think is particularly favorable or is focused? I mean, one of the things I don't think I mentioned, but I'm sure folks know at this point, this program is available to businesses 500 employees and smaller, and has even, it sounds like, been expanded, and I get a little confused on it, but sounds like independent contractors are able to apply for this as well. So talk to me a little bit about what you're seeing as a consultant that helps programs and businesses find that funding. What are you seeing that really is kind of exciting about this opportunity?
Well, as Edward said, I mean, it's exciting, one, that it's coming through SBA and not FEMA. So it's moving extremely quickly, and using the banks means people can actually walk out with dollars or have dollars deposited shortly thereafter. So that's super different. But also, Ben, it does incorporate businesses 500 employees or smaller. It will, as of April 10th, include independent contractors and self-employed people like me. And then further, it also includes nonprofits. And I believe, Edward, correct me if I'm wrong, this even includes churches this time, which is unusual for the SBA. So not only should the programs, the Main Street program, send this out to their small businesses and make sure that they have this information, but they themselves can also apply to help get through the hump if they had to cancel events or things like that.
That was one of the big questions that I have been getting is, are 501c3s eligible to apply?
They absolutely are eligible to apply. What they need to apply is different through each institution. So as Edward said, they need to go to their local bank. I think you and I have talked about this, but it's the banks are receiving some fee off this. So we do encourage everybody to go to their local bank and keep that money in their community and where their relationships are. For 501c3s, they need their 990s typically, maybe 1 or 2 years, and then the payroll information from 2019 and most recent payroll in 2020.
Fantastic.
That sounds like the list of what most, but they can go ahead and apply today. So it's open to nonprofits today. It's just independent contractors and self-employed people that have to wait to the 10th.
Great. Now, one thing, and I don't know whether I should ask this or not, but I know a lot of times, especially when we start talking about smaller businesses and kind of the way that some of those are set up, when we're dealing with, say, a business owner that sees a mixture of a salary and a draw, as long as they're seeing consistent treatments to payment model, are all those things relatively easy to figure out? Is that, again, a institution by institution difference? Edward, what are you seeing with some of that stuff with some of the smaller business ownership dynamics?
Okay, so it's a great question, Ben. I think there needs to be some clarity. So sole proprietors and contractors cannot apply. I believe it's the 10th of April when they can apply. So there's still some rulemaking to come down from the SBA on that. If you're an operated small business, you absolutely can apply. And you know, we basically need the information on your payroll and your payroll expenses, rents, et cetera. And there's lots of different worksheets out there.
Right.
Point people to our website to get those kind of tools, www.inbank.com, where you can look at those tools and figure out how you can, look at the size of a loan that you're going to get and how that loan will be forgiven. So absolutely for the small business space, but for those independent contractors and self-employed, those are rules that we expect to be coming down during next week.
Okay, fantastic. And then I think one of the big things, and we always kind of talk about loans in terms of programs, and I know a lot of times with small business, I've always said, hey, we don't need a we're not necessarily looking for a small interest rate. We're looking for flexibility. We're looking for terms that are are good for us to be able to accommodate. Some of the things that I wanted to highlight, and I'd love for you guys to jump in if I'm missing anything or misstating, but it sounds like with these particular programs, there's a 6-month loan repayment deferral. So no payments due for 6 months from origination date. And then there is, and this is the big one, there is the opportunity for loan forgiveness based off certain circumstances. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Maybe we, yeah, I was thinking maybe we should go back to the beginning. I think we all started in the middle of the conversation because we've been so steeped in it. But what the actual program is through the SBA, it's offers the opportunity for 2.5 times your monthly payroll. And then you can also include in there rents, utilities, insurance. Edward, you know that list better than I do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right on, Stephanie. Is it basically allows you to take the way you qualify for the loan is it's 2.5 times your payroll, which includes insurance and benefits and all those kind of things that are included in that. And that determines your loan size that you can qualify for. So it's 2.5 times that. And then that loan, the way the loan is set up, it's a 2-year term, and then it is with a 1% interest rate, and it's forgivable in 6 months. And the way it's forgivable is based on you retaining at least 75% of that payroll expense in your company. So you have to maintain, the spirit of this law is to get money in the hands of the employees. And so you have to maintain 75% of your payroll expense. And then those other factors that you just mentioned, Stephanie, rent expense, insurance expense, those kind of things, those are all spelled out in the law, but those will be all considered in the forgiveness. So if you took out a loan for $100,000 and you kept 90% of your $15,000 of rent expense, et cetera, your loan would be forgiven at that 6-month period. And so basically that's the way it works out. If there was a remaining balance on that loan, it can be amortized over the remaining 18 months at a 1% interest rate. The SBA will continue to guarantee those loans at 100%. So it's a credit-worthy deal for the bank. And because the banks are getting paid a fee for processing the loans, the banks feel like we're being justly, I guess, compensated for doing the loans and taking the risk. But the most important thing here is that there is money available for businesses in our community. And I appreciate you propping up the community banks, because I think we're the ones that can get the money in the community the fastest, and obviously allow and have the most, the deepest relationships with these customers. So the quicker we can act and the sooner we can do the right thing for our clients means the sooner they can do the right things for their employees. And that's why, there's such a need to get this done and to do it quickly.
Yeah, one of the things, and I never really thought about it until this conversation, but, we keep talking about how this is such an amazing opportunity for our local businesses to reconnect with their local customer base, to create ties that will be able to be strengthened as the new normal starts to make its way back in. And I never really applied that all the way out to the financial institutions, but makes total sense that just like we're reconnecting with local retail, we're creating these new relationships with the local banking institutions, because truly they're the ones on the ground that are trying to help. That's their friends and neighbors that they're trying to support. I have what might be a technical question, and if it's too complicated, say I don't want to talk about it, that's fine. We know a lot of business owners have already either furloughed or, have had employees that have gone on to unemployment as a temporary fix. Are they able to apply for the loan and then upon receiving the loan, rehire those employees and use that loan funding to keep them on board?
Yep, that's an accurate statement.
Okay.
And there's some nuance there, like they're not, so if let's just say they let them go, they furloughed them 2 weeks ago, they're not going to be held accountable for that period of time where they were furloughed. As long as they hire them back, they're going to be counted in the forgiveness part of the loan.
Perfect.
So that is actually what, I think the intent that Congress had was to make sure that happened, that exact that exact point of people that have been furloughed. Let's bring them back onto the payroll. Let's pay them. And then hopefully, in 30, 45 days, if all of this works and we come out of it, those folks are there and those businesses can begin ramping back up again.
Fantastic. And then have we heard anything about the tax ramifications? If a business receives the loan, is the loan amount counted as inventory, as income for that business?
I don't know the answer to that question.
Okay.
I don't know if any of us know the answer to that question at this point in time.
Gotcha. Okay. Anything else that I wasn't smart enough?
The interim final version.
Right, exactly. Or the medium interim final, right. Is there anything that I wasn't smart enough to ask about, or is there anything that you all think is kind of some of the big message that you need to take away from this unique opportunity for small businesses across the country?
Well, I think the one big thing, well, go ahead, Stephanie, you go first. Ladies first, sorry.
I was just going to say, because a lot of the places where we work, Ben, are dependent on seasonal and have a lot of tourism that is seasonal, that seasonal employees are included in part of in this, and that they need to do that assessment with their banker when they sit down. It may not be who they had on the payroll in February, but also who they were intending to have on the payroll beginning in April or May. So
Great.
Yep. I just wanted to make the point that the $349 billion, which is a lot of money, but it is on a first come, first served basis, so to speak. And so I would encourage everybody that's interested in this loan to work quickly to get it done. It's a very simple application process and the requirements are very simple, but make sure you're with a financial institution who knows how to do this so that they can get you in queue and get you taken care of. I do expect, and I think most people do expect, that there will have to be another round. We think this money could be gone in weeks, which is truly amazing to think about. But we think that there may be other rounds or other programs that come behind this. So just be on the watch out for those. But those that are interested, you need to move quickly and pretty accurately here to get this done.
Fantastic. And slightly related, but also off topic, but part of the CARES Act, was just reading this morning that some of the projections were saying that first round of stimulus checks directly to consumers would be run through people that had direct deposit on file with the IRS. And then we might not see paper checks begin run until maybe the last week of April or so. And some forecasts are calling for up to 20 weeks before everybody gets delivered that paper check. That being said, from a business standpoint, is there anything from a strategy standpoint, knowing that we've kind of got this staggered stimulus that might be coming from the direct consumer checks, as well as the PPP getting people paychecks again? Is that the needed ingredients for a certain amount of consumer confidence and stability, or is it still so up in the air that our businesses are going to be struggling to get folks to pull the spending trigger?
It's if I had a question, we could probably do very well here. It all depends, I think, is the answer to the question. So getting money in the hands of folks who don't have jobs is absolutely the right thing. If you've looked at the amount of savings, the savings rate has been dropping in this country for many years, so there's not a lot of cushion. So most people are, living paycheck to paycheck and find themselves in pretty tough situations. I know we as a bank created consumer programs to bridge the gap for these folks. So between now and the time that they get their money, stimulus money, most banks have created programs to help the consumer out. There are payment deferral programs out there, lease deferral programs, mortgage deferral programs. I just encourage you to communicate and go to the bank's website or your financial institution's website and see what's out there. If you're hurting, I think there are programs that can help you. But it's really dependent upon you to go research those. And a good place to start is with your local bank. who probably is up to speed and can help direct you if you have any other questions.
Fantastic. Great point, Edward. Stephanie, anything you want to throw in on it?
No, but we're going to sound like an ad for your local bank. But happily, we really want you to go to your local bank, not ours, unless you're in Colorado or New Mexico. But just to say that we don't, just as Ben, as you and I saw in Katrina and BP, and we saw again in Irene, you don't know what's coming next. So those relationships and staying on top of the information that's coming out is so critical, because it can change. And to your earlier question, I think if the answer to that is no, that it doesn't promote consumer confidence and it doesn't pull the trigger, then we'll see something else quickly behind it. So, those are important now.
Yeah, and I appreciate all that. I think one of the big things that we keep hearing is kind of the trickle up of, we've got business owners who are tenants and they're struggling with figuring out how they're going to pay their rent. Then we've got property owners that maybe aren't particularly motivated to go talk to their financial institution and say, hey, are you offering a mortgage deferment? So it's kind of working up that path and finding the way to communicate. And I'm excited to see this program as it kicks off. I do hope that it's going to give a little bit of, peace of mind to folks as they're going through. I know that we as small business owners have been extremely concerned about all of our employees and our clients. And that's why we're doing things like this conversation today, is just trying to help and get the information out. So Edward, Stephanie, thank you. Oh, were you going to say one more thing, Stephanie?
Well, I was just going to say I think the last thing is just, it is a population, as you said, who's not used to taking loans, who's not used to dealing with things by taking out loans and this is, it's different because it's really a grant, obviously, if you can do everything right. But so it's important, even if you've never done it before, it can be a great tool this time.
Right. I like calling it a loan so people feel like they at least have to jump through. There's some sort of obligation. If you mess around here, then you got to pay this back, and that's Well, guys, thank you both so much. Edward, Stephanie, thanks for taking the time out of your Friday to talk a little bit about the PPP. Thank you for everything that you guys are doing to help small business and help communities throughout the country. Quick plug, even though I'm not supposed to, if you are located in the states of Colorado and New Mexico, InBank serves both states. They've got locations throughout both of them, and again, are kind of headquartered in the Denver metro area. Didn't realize it until earlier, Edward, but we had actually worked all the way down in Trinidad, where you've got a branch location.
Oh, yeah.
One of the pretty interesting communities there in Colorado, serving as a border town with New Mexico. So thank you all so much for taking the time out to talk. And hopefully, if you do have questions, if you do want to find out more about the PPP, contact your local banking institutions and make that personal relationship so they can help get you some support that you need during this difficult time. So thank you all so much, and we will talk to you again soon.
Great. Thank you.